So, as usual, I will start with a couple of questions before opening it up to the floor for what I'm sure will be several questions. So, as you may have guessed from the introduction, I'm a big Tottenham fan. And I was personally shocked when you were sacked by Spurs. Can you run us through how that happened?
You were shocked, not as shocked as I was. What had happened? I don't know. It was a strange, I didn't see it coming. To be honest with you, it came completely out the blue. But I had a year left on my contract, and I spoke to Daniel about extending it. I never ever saw a problem coming. We finished fourth that year, and the unfortunate thing, I'm sure we've got some Chelsea fans here tonight, but Chelsea happened to win the Champions League that year. They finished sixth in the league. They won Champions League suddenly, so they got the extra spot. They got the spot in Champions League, and we didn't make it at Tottenham. So I don't know. I honestly I wish I could answer it and tell you exactly what happened. Only Daniel would know. I mean, it was a strange time in my life because I'd gone through from Christmas. I'd gone through so much. I had that court case, and then I had the England situation. It looked like I was going to get the England job, and I'm a betting man, and the bookmakers, I think, I was 10-1 on, and Roy Hodgson was 10-1 against, and there was nobody else in the running. So it did seem that everything coming to me from within football was that I was going to be the next England manager. And suddenly, within a matter of 3 months, I didn't get the England job, and suddenly I lost my job at Tottenham. So it was an amazing period. But most importantly, I got found not guilty at the High Court. So you can't win them all.
I mean, how do you respond? So when you do hear this speculation that you might become the England manager, I mean, did you go out and do anything to try and encourage that?
No, not at all. No, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't even sure I wanted it that much. I was really enjoying my time at Tottenham. And I enjoy going into work every day. I enjoy being around young footballers, and being out on the training ground. That was something that I enjoy. I enjoy the day-to-day managing of footballers. And so suddenly to have had the England job and then having to go and sit with a load of old farts at the FA, every day and seeing the players once every 2 months, it wasn't something that I was overexcited about. I don't know whether I was cut out for that. I just... lots of office work, perhaps lots of going around media, doing stuff that really didn't interest me that much. So, when it didn't happen, I was in the car. We'd played at home that day. Tottenham, it was a Sunday. I think we played West Brom. We'd won 3-0 or whatever. And suddenly it came on the radio. There's just a news flash. Roy Hodgson is the New England manager. I was like, oh, I was shocked. But I didn't go to bed and sulk. I went upstairs, went out for dinner that night, had a glass of wine, and got ready to back to work next morning. So I'm one of them people, you have to go on, lads. Sometimes we all have knockbacks in life, but it's what you do, how you pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and go back in there slugging. You can't just say, oh, I feel sorry for myself. I should have got the England job. I didn't get the Tottenham job. I wake up every morning. I'm lucky. I feel great. I feel good today. My health's good. My family are good. So there's worse things happening than not getting the England job and losing your job at Tottenham, in my opinion. So, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like the first you heard about it was on the radio. Yeah. They didn't contact you. I never had any contact with anyone at the FA at any time. I never sort of went for I wouldn't have gone for an interview anyway. No more than Roy. I think Roy said at the time he wouldn't go for an interview because, he felt that I had the job. So he wanted to go for an interview and then not get the job. So, no, I wouldn't have gone for an interview or anything else. And I didn't speak to anyone from the FA. It was sort of just all being done as though it was going to happen. But as I say, it wasn't the end of the world for me. It wasn't. It would have been nice. I'm a very patriotic Englishman, and I'm looking forward to following England in the Euros. I think we've got some great young players now, so I hope we do well. I don't hold grudges. I don't sort of look at people go, oh, how'd you, a bit upsets you when you see Tottenham doing well, or I say, no, I love it. It's great. I love Pochettino. I think he's fantastic. I love the manager and the players. A lot of them players were kids that I signed, or players that I signed. So I love to see them do well. I don't go through life, worrying about what's happened or feeling jealous, and I think that's the worst thing you can be in your life, is being a jealous person, and I'm not that.
As you just mentioned, Pochettino, do you reckon he's going to stay put at Spurs?
Yeah, I love him. I think he's great. And the most amazing coincidence was that he was manager at Southampton. I went to QPR. We played Southampton at their St Mary's Stadium on March the 2nd, QPR versus Southampton. It was my birthday and his birthday on the same day, and we're playing each other. It was quite strange, really. So every second of March, we text each other now and wish each other happy birthday. And I like him. He's a great lad.
They're doing very well as well.
Yeah.
But so moving from the end of your Tottenham career to the very start of your coaching career in general, you started in the United States with your coach.
Yeah, it was my first job in football. I mean, I left school at 14, just before I was 15. And completely uneducated, came from the East End of London. My dad worked in the docks and my mum worked in the local cake factory. And the only thing I was going to be a docker. I was going to work in the docks with my dad. That's all everybody who lived in that part of the East End of London, which is now Canary Wharf. That's where my dad used to work. That was the old West India dock. And so I was going to be working the docks like all the other kids who I went to school with. Education wasn't very good, I'm afraid, and that was what we were going to be. But I was football mad. I lived for football. So I went to Tottenham when I was 11 years of age. I got picked up by Tottenham, playing for East London schools, played at Millwall in the cup final for East London boys against Wanstead, and coming off at the end of the game, there was a scout there from Tottenham called Dickie Walker, lovely man, and Dickie said to me, hello son, is your dad here? And I said, yeah. He said, can I meet? I'm Dickie Walker. Anyway, after the game, we waited and my dad came down and he invited us to Tottenham. So we went down to Tottenham and I met the great Bill Nicholson. Bill Nicholson was the manager of Tottenham when they won the double back in, what would it have been, 50?
Doesn't matter how long ago it was.
He done long time ago. 61. So I went and met the great Bill Nicholson and so every Tuesday and Thursday night I went training at Tottenham. Long way from East London, but I used to get on 12 years of age, and there was another boy as well from the same district. So we used to get on the train, the train, and we'd go training, and we'd train out in the car park at Tottenham, and it was fantastic, And so I stayed there, and just before I left school at 15, by then I had the opportunity. Other clubs came in. I had West Ham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham. I could have signed for any of them teams, but I decided West Ham was a real family club that produced its own players. So I joined West Ham in 61. And my first year, as a 15-year-old, we won the FA Youth Cup. And we attracted crowds of 25,000 people, 30,000 people. We beat Liverpool in the final. And it was cup final night. The FA Cup final was in the afternoon. And that night at Upton Park, over 2 legs, we managed to beat Liverpool. But regular crowds are over 20,000, to watch the youth team play. So, and it was a great time for me at West Ham. I loved it. The manager was a fantastic coach, Ron Greenwood, best coach I've ever seen. Absolute genius. And I played there. And I played with people like Bobby Moore, Geoff Hurst, Martin Peters, who went on to win the World Cup. Played in the World Cup winning team in 66. And we were all kids that came through the youth team. West Ham didn't buy a player. Every player in that team came from within 6-7 miles of the football ground. Bobby came from Barking, Geoff Hurst came from Chelmsford, Martin Peters came from Ilford, Frank Lampard came from Canning Town. We all lived within, that's what, and West Ham, and we all grew up together. We all came through the youth team together. And so it was a club that produced it was like a conveyor belt of producing its own players in them days. It was a great club to play for.
And sorry, so just going back to with your coaching career in America. Nowadays we see players who arguably have good years left in Europe moving over to America. Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Andrea Pirlo. When is the right time to move over, if there is the right time?
Well, it's a great move for people like Frank, I think, and Gerrard, because it's an exciting lifestyle, good lifestyle. Frank lives in New York, absolutely loves it there, and I think the football is average, to be honest. It's not a great league, but obviously they're making a fortune out there, and it's a good life. and it's a couple of years, and then he'll come back. And I'm sure Stevie Gerrard's got a big future in managing, or I think he will go back into the game somewhere. And Frank, I don't know whether Frank wants to go into managing. If he does, again, there's no danger that he wouldn't be a big success. I'm sure he'd have a great chance of being successful. But also the media, I think he's going to be a person that lots of the media are going to, TV or whatever he wants to do, But coaching, and then maybe they'll get into coaching. But it's difficult, now. When I started and got into management, we loved it. It was an opportunity to get into managing or coaching because we hadn't earned any money. We hadn't, so suddenly we've got the chance to go and manage. My first managing job was at Bournemouth, but I was out every night of the week watching games. I'd earned no real money as a player, even though I'd played in the first division as it was then. The money wasn't there. Now, these lads, you're asking, so when the Gerrards and the Lampards retire, they've been earning £200,000 a week. Are they suddenly going to go and manage lower down? Are they going to take a job at Southend for £60,000, £50,000 a year when they've been earning £200,000 a week? To go and earn £50,000 a year, it's going to be a culture shock for them, isn't it? They've been earning that in 2 days, what they can earn in a year. So I don't think that, and then you've got to be out every night. You've still got the same hassle when you're working for chairmen who want to poke their nose in everything, or probably more trouble than what they are at the big clubs after these chairmen lower down. A lot more. So, I don't know whether the top players, unless they get walk straight into manage at the top level, whether they're going to do their apprenticeship like I did and like so many of us did in them days. We started at the bottom, managing and coaching, and worked our way up the ladder to eventually we managed in the Premier Leagues. But we all did an apprenticeship in them days, lower down. Very few people finished playing and took over. Kenny Dalglish was a rare example. He was a fantastic player, Kenny, but he finished at Liverpool, went straight into Liverpool as player manager. But that was rare. Most people end up starting off at Rochdale or Bury or Southend or Leyton Orient or somewhere, and then try to work your way up the ladder.
So you think more people will do what Gary Neville's done?
Yeah, he started at a big club though, but he's done very well as a pundit on TV, but it's very different being a pundit than when it is managing. It's very different when you can look second guessing, and looking at things that what have happened in a game, and this should have happened, that they should have done this. When you're actually out there on that touchline making decisions, it's a very different game. But Gary's done great on TV. He's a great pundit, and I'm sure he's got a big future as a manager. But this will be a big learning curve for him. He's not finding it easy. It's a difficult start, but a great experience for him.
And it seems you're enjoying life as a pundit, and I appreciate you probably get this question quite a lot. But any chance we're going to see you back in the dugout sometime soon?
I doubt it now. I doubt it. I'm quite enjoying. I've had such a long spell of doing, for probably, over 30 years, managing. I just felt at the end I started to get a bit weary with it, and so I enjoy what I'm doing now. I enjoy doing bits with BT. I enjoy going to watch Bournemouth play. I take my grandkids to watch them every week. I love watching football. I sit all day Sunday. My wife's pleased. I'm sitting downstairs in the TV room. I'm watching every game. Then I've got the Spanish football. Then I've got Italian football. It's football, wall-to-wall football, I love the game. And I'll go over the park, watch the kids play. If there's a game on the local park, I'll stop and watch it. I love football. It's my life. It always,
Why don't you start managing one of those local park teams? I reckon they'd have you.
Yeah, it could. Well, I've just got involved with Wimborne Town, which is a local club to where I live. They've been struggling. They're sort of on the verge of, talking about going out of business. So they asked me if I would just sort of try to help get a little bit involved with them. And I went to a meeting last week, and it's a different world. Their wage bill is £500 a week, and they can't afford to pay it. That's the manager, the coach, all the players combined. It's £500, and it's a struggle. So. But, I'll see if I can help them in some way.
So I've just got a couple more general questions before opening out to the floor. I'm sure you will have questions, but get thinking. What's your favourite memory as being a coach?
As being a manager?
Yeah.
I don't know, I had some great times, you know, there were so many at Bournemouth. You know, I had all them years, I had 10 years as manager at Bournemouth, and the word was that Bournemouth would never get out the old third division because the town didn't want a football team. And, you know, we won, so 100 and odd years, they'd never been out the bottom two divisions, they'd never been into the championship in 100 and odd years of their history. So to be the first manager to win, I won the league that year and we got promoted, that was always special to me, you know, and I lived down there as well. So then I had great times at West Ham, you know, producing, but being involved with them fantastic group of kids that came through the youth team, you know, Ferdinand and Lampard, Cole, Carrick, Defoe, Glenn Johnson, 6 of them all went on and played for England. So that was a lovely time to see all them kids sign them at 12, 13 and see them develop into England internationals. I enjoyed that very much. And then at Portsmouth, I had a great time at Portsmouth, getting promoted with Portsmouth and winning the FA Cup. I've enjoyed it wherever I've been. I've met so many nice people. You know, I've been so lucky, really, to be involved in something that I love. Is
it possible to say what the bigger achievement was? Winning the FA Cup with Portsmouth or taking Tottenham to the round of 16?
Last 8. We got in the quarterfinals, didn't we?
Last 8, yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, I forget about Real Madrid.
No, we got in the last 8 at Tottenham in Champions League. No, I loved that. That night winning at Man City was fantastic to qualify. We had to go to Man City. I know we've got a big Man City fan here with his blue jumper on. Where is he? But we had to go to Man City and win that night, yeah. And Crouchy scored the goal. So that was great, you know. Crouchy was a great lad, you know, and I signed him a few times. I saw a picture of his wife in the paper tomorrow. I mean, yesterday, I meant to say, he's not going to be in the paper tomorrow, but I saw a picture of his wife in the paper yesterday. I mean, my God, what a stunning looking girl. I thought the greatest quote of all time, though, was Crouchy's quote, wasn't it? When they said, what would you have been if you hadn't been a footballer? And he said, a virgin. I mean, but he certainly, he must wake up every morning. He must think he's gone to heaven or something. But he sees she is absolutely gorgeous, his wife. I'm not into other footballers' wives, lads, or anything, but she just is stunning. And he's a great lad and all, Crouchy. Absolutely fantastic lad.
Fantastic. It seems like a good place to open up to the floor. If anyone else would like to comment on a WAG. So yeah, if you have a question, please put your hand high in the air and someone will come around with a microphone. So we'll go, of course, to the man in the Tottenham shirt.
Rafa. What's happened to you, Rafa? Oh, you're at Real Betis. You're not playing now. What's gone wrong?
I would start him, but Harry, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for everything you did at Spurs. You made us into a good club. We weren't very good before that. My question for you today is, so you took over from Juan de Ramos and we weren't very good. How did you, is there anything in particular you implemented to turn us around so quickly? Because I think the week after that we beat Liverpool. We went to Arsenal and got a point. We did really well, very quickly.
Yeah, no, I was lucky. I had good players. You know, I walked into a club that was sort of really underachieving, but you looked at the players and there was good players there. And, you know, when you look, Luka Modric, what a player. I watched him on Sunday night playing for Real Madrid. He was just incredible. So I was lucky. I took over a good group of players and really just, you know, got them believing in themselves and playing as they should have been playing. I really don't know what was going wrong before, but no, I had a great time there. It was, you know, we bought Gareth Bale was an amazing talent, you know, and we moved Modric inside from playing wide left into a central midfield player, and that was really the makings of Luka. Once he played in there, he was incredible. And then Rafa came. Rafa was a great player for us. So. Yeah, it was good. I had a great time at Tottenham.
Thank you for your question. For the next question now. Yeah, we'll come right down here.
Thanks. Thank you for coming. It's just a question, obviously, your comments on BT last week about Adebayor in training. So just a quick question on that. Who are perhaps the best players you've ever worked with and possibly the worst?
Oh, the worst will be difficult. The best trainer I've ever seen would be Frank Lampard. Never seen anybody could come anywhere near him, to be honest with you. He would be out on the training ground every afternoon till it was dark, on his own, practicing, shooting, put his spikes on, do his sprints, 10 yards, run and check, every day. You couldn't get him off the training pitch. Just absolutely wanted to be a top player so much. And as I say, the only person I ever saw as good as him was his dad. His dad, I played with his father, and he was the same. He made himself into a top player. Couldn't run, bit slow, Frank Senior, but got spikes, did sprints, 10 yards, jockey, turn and sprint 10 yards, all sharp stuff. And young Frank, he did the same with him, because Frank wasn't a great athlete at 15, 16, but made himself quicker, made himself a better athlete, longer distance. He ran long distance. He'd finish training, he'd go home at night and run around, put his sweatsuit on and run around the streets. You know, he was so dedicated. He would be the best trainer I've ever seen. But that little group at West Ham, they were all good for each other. You know, Rio, Joe Cole. I think Frank was they saw what Frank was doing, and they really sort of all bought into that. So Harry Kane's a great trainer at Tottenham, great attitude. I found him to be a kid with, you know, real wants to be a top player. The worst, I couldn't say the worst. I wouldn't want to. I've had one or two that you wouldn't want to round you too much, but in 30 odd years you're going to get a few, aren't you? But no, I've been lucky in the main. You know, most of the lads. You know, it's a great way to make a living. Come in the morning, train, do something you love doing. You know, get very well paid for it. Well, great way to make a living. So I think most of them really appreciate it. And most of them are great lads. You read about lots of stuff. John Terry, you know, recently John Terry. People talk about John Terry. He gets a bit of stick, John Terry, and he wouldn't thank me for telling his story probably. But the other week, you know, I'm involved with a charity and the Dream Factory. And we had a young boy who 17 with cancer, and he was a big Chelsea fan. And so the lady involved with the charity rang me up and said, "Harry, what can we do for Tommy? You know, he's desperate. So he loves Chelsea." So we got hold of Jamie. We rang John Terry up. John was straight on the phone to the boy for half hour. He went out. He was. I couldn't tell you what he did to help this kid. He was amazing, John Terry, amazing. And the boy passed away a week ago. But John, I couldn't speak highly enough of him. And it's not the first time he's done that. He's done that for me with different kids on quite a few occasions, you know. And you only ever see, there's always some, you know, people dig him out or whatever. But he's got a heart as big as his body, really, John Terry, I tell you. And if you was in trouble, you'd want him on your side. And what he did with this young boy I thought was fantastic.
Thank you for your question. If we could go to the gentleman in the purpley top. Yeah. Thank you.
So there's been rumours of potential Premier League players coming out. How do you think that would have been accepted sort of across your years as a manager?
Going out?
Coming out.
Oh, coming out. I'm sorry. I thought you meant going out. I say we used to go out every night. we used to be around the Black Lion pub in Plaster before the crowd had come out the ground. In my day, obviously, you know, things have changed, haven't they? And they've changed for the better. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure a few years ago, it's a difficult situation, you know. For, you know, you've got supporters. You just never know how they're going to react, I suppose. But you know, I think it's fantastic that, you know. Why shouldn't they come out? You know, there's no reason. But you know, I'm sure many years ago, people would have looked at it differently for some. You know, maybe we weren't educated or whatever. I don't know what it was with, and maybe supporters might have been a little bit different. But no, I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one to answer, really. Why shouldn't everybody is people are what they are, and there's nothing wrong with you. We all got different agendas in life, all different. So,
thank you for the question. Look to the next question now. The gentleman here. Yeah.
Hi, Harry. You've become synonymous with transfer dealings in your time at Spurs.
I don't know why.
So I was wondering, in your time as a manager, are there any players that you had the opportunity to sign but perhaps didn't sign that went on to become big stars?
Loads. I spent time with Hazard, in a hotel room for 2 hours in Paris. Maybe that's why he didn't sign. I wonder why he never signed. After having 2 hours with me, he probably thought, no, I'll give that one a miss. Could have took him to Tottenham at the time. He was dead keen to come. Courtois, the goalkeeper at Chelsea. We had him really lined up again at Tottenham. Met his mum and dad, came over to England. He was one that we looked like we were sure we were going to get. But no, loads of players that, I even was going to take a lad years ago. It's how you can get beat in the transfer market. I was signing a lad called Ian Wone. He played for Runcorn in the conference. I went and watched him play on a Tuesday night at Runcorn, freezing cold night. Manager of Bournemouth, travelled down, drove up to Runcorn with my chief scout, Stuart Morgan, to watch him play. Loved him, left footer, frozen pitch. We got him, we're going to sign him, £40,000. Do the deal, meet his dad, and next day he's coming down to do the deal with the Runcorn. He's going to come down and sign. I get a phone call from his dad, said, look, Harry, I'm sorry, I've got to work today. I really want to come with the boy. Can we make it tomorrow? I said, well, we don't really need you to come, Mr. Wone. I really want to get it done. It's been in the paper today. Well, we'll be down in the morning. 10 o'clock we'll be down at the ground. Okay. That night it came up on the old teletext as it was, that Ian Wone was travelling down tomorrow to sign for Bournemouth. Brian Clough was in his office at Notts Forest at 5 o'clock at night when he sees this on the teletext, and he's there with all his staff, and he sits there and he says to the lads, he went, they do well with non-league players, Bournemouth. He said, who's this Wone from Runcorn they're signing? Anybody know him? And one of his scouting staff, Alan Hill, I think it was, said, I know the manager at Runcorn. Used to play for somebody or whatever. He said, I'll ring him, see if they've done the deal. I'll ask him. So he rings up the manager. He said, what's this, the boy Wone? He said, he's supposed to be going, has he signed for Bournemouth? Yeah. He said, no, he's not signed. Tomorrow, I think he's going to go up there. He said, is he any good? He said, he's different class. He said, he's too good for Bournemouth. He said, is he? He said, how much is he? He said, £40,000. Cloughie went, he said, it's £40,000. He said he's different class, the manager. He said, tell him we give him 60. Well, so bang, they ring the kid up. He's going to Notts Forest, who were in the first division, compared to Bournemouth in the third. I get a phone call that late that night, up past 11, that, sorry, Harry, we've had Notts Forest and we're going to Forest. And I lost him, and Brian Clough took him, and he was an excellent player for Notts Forest for a good few years. So, you win some and you lose some, but no, it's the transfer deadline day is a nightmare. I mean, it's only when you only get involved when you're desperate, really. If you're desperate and you're at a club at the bottom or somewhere, but it's nice. When I was at Tottenham, we didn't really dive in too much to the transfer on deadline day. Daniel enjoys it, Daniel Levy, but we didn't have to do too much because we had a good group of players.
Thank you for your question. If we come right down here at the front.
You were talking before about all the stats and all the kind of technical analysis that's available to managers and the coaching staff and all that. You were considered an advocate of sort of man management and that sort of thing. Do you think the game is maybe in danger of being overcomplicated these days? And would you try and go for a more simple and effective approach?
Yeah, I think a lot of it now. I think there's so many, what is it? I think bullshit baffles brains, doesn't it? I think, and I think there's a lot of that now. It's a lot of jargon spoke, isn't there, in the game? You know, it's all about. It seems to be all. I don't think too many come out or not enough come out and say what they've actually seen. You know, the public are not fools. They've seen a game and the team's played badly. If they've played badly, come out and say so. You know, no, we didn't play well today. We didn't deserve anything. We got beat by, you know. There's always some spin on it now, it seems to me. I don't know if they've got, you know, lots of clubs have got people in the background priming them up what to say before they go into press conferences perhaps or come out and talk about the game after. But it is a simple game really, you know, and I think if you're a judge or a footballer, you know, you let your eyes be the judge. You know, you can see, if you understand the game, you can watch a game, you can see it was played well. You go and watch a game on a Saturday, I'm sure you pick out people that you think have done well and people haven't played well. But there is an awful lot of everything now is over. You know, we've got, as I said before to the little group of lads I was talking to, you know, it's amazing now. You can come in on a Monday morning, you can come to tell me about a player who could be at the most obscure team in the world, and within 2 minutes I can get him up. We can get him up on the screen, and I can see everything about him: how many games he's played, his weight, his height, who he's been with, you know, what clubs he's played for, how many games he played. Suddenly we get him up and we can watch him play for 2 hours, you know, and that's within 5 minutes of you telling me who he is. So, and that's how after the managers don't get to see players now. As I was saying to the boys outside, the managers don't. You can't, because it's a world game now. When it used to be a British game, every night of the week you'd be at a game, watching a game. As a manager, you'd go and watch a game, looking for players, looking to find a golden nugget somewhere, or, you know, a Stuart Pearce playing for Wealdstone at left back in the non-league, or an Ian Wright playing, you know, non-league football. You'd go out and watch games. Now the players are, you know, you can't get to Argentina on a Saturday evening to watch a game on a Sunday, so you can't do it. You know, you're going to watch your own team on a Saturday, unless the managers are jetting off everywhere, and they're not. They don't get to see the players. The players, you know, Arsene Wenger's not going all over the world watching players. The players, he's got a scouting system, and they'll be bringing the players to him and say, Arsene is a player at, you know, wherever in Uruguay or in Argentina or wherever he plays, and he'll watch the stuff on him, and he'll talk to the people that work for him, and between them they'll make a decision as to whether they go for the player. Sometimes you don't nowadays. It didn't happen years ago. You'd have got ridiculed if you said, I bought this player for video. Now, after players are being watched on, you know, that's how the manager actually said. He's got other people that would have seen them live, but the actual manager, that's at the top level, Premier League. The actual manager probably, in lots of cases, doesn't get to see the player.
Thank you for your question. If we could go, hand shot up at the back. I can't see what you're wearing. You've got a watch on. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, Harry. You've been involved in a few relegation battles over the year, and given that you aren't currently with any club at the minute, how do you fancy managing Oriel College football over the next few weeks?
Who? Sorry.
Oriel College football, local college team, currently languishing second bottom in the university. Do you fancy coming along for a few weeks? We could really use your help.
Well, someone's asked me to do a TV programme, actually, over a year to manage a team that is bottom of the league. You'd have to drop down one more place. But it was quite interesting. They asked me if I would take over a team and they'd follow me for a year with this team, you know. But a year's a long time. I don't know if I can manage it every Sunday morning, you know. I think there must be better things to do than turn up. No, I would. I mean, as I say, I've got involved at Wimborne Town a little bit with them, and if you were closer, I used to make this journey to Oxford every day. I had a spell at Oxford City with Bobby Moore, so I'd made every day. I had to drive down to Oxford, and back in when would that have been? That would have been about 82, I think. You know, before I went to Bournemouth. So I know Oxford well. I spent some time in Oxford.
I don't think you have to wait that long for Oriel to reach the bottom. Here, we'll go. Yeah, the gentleman on the edge there.
Harry, as a die-hard Portsmouth supporter, it was a very black day when you left the first time. It got even blacker when we found out where you went. which is
well,
down the road to
I know.
Southampton. But it got even better for us, though, when you came back down the road to Portsmouth. Can you give us background as to what happened and why that happened? Because that was a very risky thing.
Well, the first time I fell out with Milan. Milan was the chairman, and me and Milan had a love-hate relationship. I loved his company. We had great times together. Fantastic. I used to love going out. Me and Milan would have a glass of wine and end up having an argument. It was great. And then, then suddenly he decided he was going to bring a director of football in. And he already had myself and Jim Smith. Jim was about 84 at the time, as though we needed someone with some experience, So, and he said, no, I'm not going to bring somebody in. And he did. This Zajic came in, who had been a great player, Yugoslav chap, But so I left, and I had no intention. Southampton wasn't even on the horizon. I never knew. And suddenly they had a caretaker manager, and then Rupert Lowe contacted me, and I took the job at Southampton. I didn't realise the hatred between the two clubs till I took the job. I mean, that was a nightmare time for me. It was so difficult because them Pompey lads don't mess around, do they? So it was difficult. But then I went back to Portsmouth, and lucky, that you were at the bottom of the league, and we managed to stay up. And I had a great time. We got into Europe, and great games there with Milan and everybody. But suddenly, out the blue, we played in Braga, in Portugal, and we were travelling back on the Friday, and I got a phone call. I was on the coach, and I'm sitting on the coach, and the chief executive of Portsmouth is sitting next to me, and the phone goes, it's Daniel Levy. And I thought, is it a wind-up or what? And he's saying, Harry, we want you to be our manager. Can we meet? And I'm going, yeah, lovely, no problem. So Peter Story said, is that Arthur? He said, who was that? I went, I don't know, it was only, Anyway, that night I go and meet Daniel. So he offers me the job, and it was the owner at Portsmouth at the time, the Russian guy, you weren't sure how things were going to go and everything. But it was a great, I thought I'd gone as far as I'd loved my time at Pompey. I had a great time. But I took the job at Tottenham. The only downside, on the Monday, I was receiving the freedom of the city of Portsmouth. I took the job at Southampton, at Tottenham on the Sunday. Monday, I'm due at the town hall to get the freedom of the city. Now, you can imagine, I got a lovely welcome. I thought, what? I said, my timing's never been very good. So, it was... But that was about it, really. And, it was a good opportunity for me. I felt Tottenham was obviously, it was a club that, with...
On behalf of 30,000 supporters, thanks for the round.
I had a great time there. It was we had a good team, and I loved every minute of it,
Well, you managed both Portsmouth and Southampton, and then also Tottenham and West Ham.
Yeah.
You don't seem to mind the rivalries.
I don't mind a bit of aggro, I mean, I do walk into some, and, it's... but, no, I don't know why there should be such... animosity between, nastiness between the clubs, really, but there is. Obviously Pompey and Southampton is fierce. I mean, that is as bad as, that really is dangerous. You wouldn't want to be, I remember, when I went to Southampton, going back to Portsmouth, we had 6 SAS men we're going back for a cup game, a league game, at Pompey. I'm the manager. Jim Smith's with me now. Kevin Bondell went to Southampton with me. We're on the coach going back to play Portsmouth. We had 6 SAS men on the coach. Helicopters above the coach following us. I mean, it was, by the time the game started, the players were so scared they couldn't play. My team, Southampton, we got beat 4-0. I think we were 4-0 down after about 15 minutes, and Luar and Yakubu, who loved me to bits, they were looking over going like, and they sort of thought, that's enough. They didn't score anymore, so.
Fair enough. We'll come right down to the front here for a question. Sorry, I'm making you walk up and down.
Who was your toughest opponent as a manager, and why?
Well, I suppose the toughest games are always against the best team. So playing Man United was always difficult. Going to Old Trafford, Fergie was always. They always had great teams, and they were the strongest team in that era, really. And Arsenal were obviously up there as well when they had that group of players, the Invincibles. That was a fantastic team. But whoever had the best team, really, I mean, it's about the players. And but Fergie, it was always in. You know, I got on great with Alex. He was. You know, it was always, he always had a nice bottle of wine for you after the game, and would have a glass of wine and talk football, and he loved his racing. We used to be in his office at 2:45 watching the 2:45 race. You know, the team's out warming up. Everybody thought that you would be in there doing your set plays and that. The players and me and Fergie were having a bet on the 2:45 at Ascot or somewhere, and I'm going, Alex, the players are coming. He's going, don't worry. I thought, no, it's all right for you. You've got a fantastic team, you know. I've got to go and try to help my lot. But so that was always good. I've never had any aggro with any of them, any of the managers. I've got on well with all of them, really, you know. Mourinho, Wenger. I've never, you know, Arsene's a quiet man. I couldn't say you'd ever get close to him, but I found him to be a gentleman. I never had arguments really with any of them, you know. After the game, I always shook hands with everybody, always went in for a drink. That is the toughest one of all. The two toughest ones for me is when you've got to go on TV and do an interview immediately after a game when you've got beat. You know, I can't explain the feeling, how low you can get. I can see we laugh about things after, but you know, it's such a. Used to get so low on a Saturday, it was almost scary. You know, I couldn't pull myself out of it. I'd go home, you know, I didn't want to see anybody or talk to anybody. I mean, you know, I said to my wife, she told so-and-so's asked us to go out on Saturday night. And I say, no, we can't. You know, if we don't win, I'm just no use to anybody. I don't want to be with anybody. So, you know, my wife she's put up with me for 50 years, so she understands me. But, you know, and when you win, the excitement of winning, I used to drive home in the car, you know, and I'd be driving, I'd be going, yes, you know. I love it. It's just the high was, and I miss that more than anything, the highs. But the lows I don't. I mean, I used to get very low.
I knew you were a true Tottenham fan, Harry. Yeah, we'll come across here to... Yeah, there it is. Thank you.
Hi, Harry. Obviously, job security and Premier League football management aren't two things that go together. When do you think bad form is a justification for firing a manager?
Well, I mean, we rely on players. You're only as good as your players. Whatever, you know, we can make a difference, obviously, but... It's, you know, I've said many times, it don't necessarily go that the teams at the top have got the best managers. They've certainly got the, you know, in most cases they've got the best players. I know Leicester have bucked the trend a bit this year. They've done a miracle, you know, but they was on that run at the end of last season. If you looked at their form, the last 10 games of last season, they were incredible. But in the main, it's about good players, and for whatever reason, if they're not performing, as Chelsea didn't perform for Jose this year. Then it's you know, but when you sack somebody like him, how do you replace him? Very difficult. You know, he is one of the great managers in world football, so to go and replace him it's not going to be easy. Where are they going to find somebody out there? You know, and he's going to come back at a top club, isn't he? He's going to manage one of the best clubs in wherever he goes, because his reputation tells you he is one of the top managers, most successful managers. He has had great teams to work with, which is the most important help you can get. It's no different, you know, if you're a racehorse trainer and you're O'Brien and you're training in Ireland for Coolmore and they're buying horses at £2 million and you're running against a horse that I own that I pay £4,000 for and they're paid £2 million, I'm not going to beat their horse, you know, it would be a miracle if I did. And it's the same with football managing. When you can go out and you think we need a centre forward to go and pay £40,000 for this one, and the other manager's going, well, I've got £2 million, I've got to go and buy him. It makes your job a lot easier when you're managing at a big club. So, you know, the top managers, Man City, you know, is Pellegrini. I like him, great guy. Is he any better than the managers at the bottom of the league, or is, you know? It's about players, good players, and getting the best out of them. Treating people the way you treat them is all important to get the best out of them. You know, confidence is all important. You'll get more out of people in whatever line of business you're in, and whatever you finish doing when you leave university, you'll get more out of people by telling them how good they are than what you will by telling them what they can't do. People respond. We all love a pat on the back. There's nothing like it. Now, if I'm nothing like the chairman coming up to me and say, Harry, you're doing a great job. I love it. Even, don't matter how old I am, I think, oh, fantastic, And I go up to a player after a game and say, hey, you're a different class. Watching you play today, I just love you. Were fantastic. You make them feel good. Even before a game, I used to go to Luka Modric, say, Luka, run the game. They can't get near you. You're so fantastic. You won't get near. And he'd feel 10 foot tall, It's giving people confidence. And I think as I say, whether you're in engineering or whatever you're doing, and you tell people, hey, you're doing a good job, well done, fantastic, you're great for the company, you're doing well for us. People respond to that. Standing behind someone going, what are you doing? Why do you do this? Or you're doing rubbish. We all go. I've never gone into a dressing room, to be honest with you, and I've done it. I have gone in and had a go at players. I've never seen the following week a better response. Derby last week. Derby were going to... They played at home, Derby, and got beat. They played badly. They were going to Dubai for a week to train. I see that the chairman came in and cancelled the trip to Dubai because they played badly. On the Saturday, they lost 3-0 home to Birmingham. Yesterday, they lost 4-1 away at Burnley. So it hasn't helped, It hasn't helped. They had a bad result. Hey, come on. Got to pick ourselves up. We didn't play well today. We're better than that. Let's go again next week. We get a result next week. Confidence is all important, whatever you do in life. Bobby Moore always said to me, all the years he played at West Ham, and Ron Greenwood was a fantastic manager. He said, but he never said well done to me. He said, and we all need that in life. And I took that on board all them years ago, and I thought, I agree, he's so right. A pat on the back when someone does well. Tell them they've done well. You've done a great job. You made it easy for me tonight talking to me. Your questions have been, you've helped me. I've come here tonight, I was scared stiff. I thought, what am I doing coming with all these highly educated geezers from Oxford University? Here I am from the East End of London. Can't work, haven't got a computer, can't send a text message, just about read and write, and I'm coming to Oxford. I thought, what's going to happen to me? You've helped me, you've done fantastic.
I think we've got one more question, if that's all right. So we'll go in the glasses.
Hi. I'll ask about what do you think about all the money that come into Premier League the last 10, 15 years? Has it spoiled or has it made it better? Or what do you think effect it has? And also on the young players, does it have an effect that they now get a mark on their head that's like £200,000 for a player that's 15 years old?
What do I think about the foreign
money is coming?
Yeah, the whole thing about
money.
Billionaires coming in.
Well, it's the TV money, isn't it? It's the next year or the year after. I think there's more money for finishing bottom than there is this year for finishing top. In the next 2 years, it's going to go up again. It's something like £100 million nearly now for being at the bottom. Relegation. But in 2 years' time, it's going to jump again. But it's the TV money. But more needs to be put down to lower level football, in my opinion. There's still so much the facilities for the kids, for people that want to play Sunday morning football, people who want to play. The facilities, I think, are terrible in lots of cases. They could be the amount of money that's fed into the Premier League. More of it can be sifted down, I think, into grassroots football, into non-league football, into Sunday morning football. Give people good facilities. Give them good changing rooms, give them decent pitches to play on, and the young kids, improve their facilities. That's where a lot more money should go, in my opinion, But I don't know how you're going to stop it now. The wages are they're not going to stop. They're going to go. Players see the Premier League getting the clubs earning all this money. They're going to want a bigger slice of the cake every year. The players, they've got agents now. He's getting £100,000 a week. We want £120,000 a week. That's the way the game's gone. I don't see that ending as long as the money keeps coming in from TV. But I would like to see the clubs. You can't cap it now. They're not going to accept the wage cap. The player. I don't know how you do it. How would you do it? You'd say in 5 years' time we're going to cap the wages. They'll still find a way of paying the players. They'll still find a way.
Well, thank you for the question. Sorry, I lied. One final question,
Yeah.
something I've always wondered. The game against AC Milan at the San Siro, we won 1-0. When Gattuso comes up and throws Joe Jordan, what on earth was going through your mind at that moment?
Well, I knew that he had no chance with Joe. I mean, Joe Jordan was one of the scary, those that hadn't seen Joe play, he was a scarier centre forward. Joe used to take his teeth out and he had these fangs. And he used to the goalkeepers in them days. He played in that Leeds team. It was a great team. Leeds were the best team in the country, but they knew how to look after themselves. They had fantastic players, and Joe was the most aggressive centre forward, and he would come in and he'd put every cross the goalkeeper went to catch. Joe would put him in the back of the net and he'd, lay the goalkeeper out early, and then he'd be scared to come out for a cross. So I knew that Gattuso had no chance with Joe, but Joe is a lovely man, very quiet man away from the football. But when Joe, if he loses his temper, it's time to disappear.
So when you separated them, that's for Gattuso's benefit, right?
Oh, absolutely, definitely not Joe's benefit. No, Joe would have knocked him out, no danger.
Good to know. All right, well, Harry, thank you so much for coming. Harry will be heading into the bar to read a round in the pub quiz if anyone's interested. So, Harry, thank you very much for coming. We'll give it up for Harry Redknapp.